And welcome, Destiny Christian Church, to Destiny Devos. And today I want to talk to you about the idea of letting Jesus still your storm. And I was in conversation with Al Warner, who comes here at least once a year, and he's in charge of, him and his wife are Set Free Buffalo. And Al has a way of putting things that is very interesting when he said that often it's not the storm outside of us that's a problem, but it's the storm inside of us. And I believe that is the issue when Jesus spoke these words in Matthew chapter 8, when he said this. He said, "And when he got into the boat, his disciples followed him. A windstorm arose on the sea, so great that the boat was being swamped by the waves, but he was asleep." And, I put in parentheses there, think of today's storm, right? Some people think God is sleeping because all the horrors that are happening in the economy and the world and the war. And they went and woke him up, saying, "Lord, save us. We are perishing." And he said to them, "Why are you afraid, you of little faith?" Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a dead calm. They were amazed, saying, "What sort of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him?" And most people, whether you're Christian or not, know this story because it's an amazing story. And it's more than just what Jesus did. It's more than about the miracle of what Jesus did, but it's about the idea of what he addresses as the problem. Notice he didn't say, "Well, you guys worried about the storm. What's wrong with you?" He said, "What's wrong with you, you of little faith?" He wasn't addressing the external fears they had of a storm. He was addressing the internal turmoil they had because of the storm. And that's why it's so important that when God allows external things to put pressure on us and storms, often those things are squeezing out of us the internal things, the internal turmoils, until we trust him. And often there's external things that happen to you and me, and external pressures and problems and struggles and all these things. And they're addressing that very core thing inside us that we don't even realize is the problem. Because often we think the problem is, well, it's the storm, that's the problem, so let's wake up Jesus and stop the storm. He's saying, no, the problem is not the storm, the problem is in you. Because you don't know how to navigate the storm from your heart. You don't know how to trust me, that I'll deal with it. And that's why we want to talk about that today, about the idea, just for a minute, about what it means to calm that storm. Because often the problem isn't outside of us. It's the storm that is inside of us. And I heard this illustration 2 days ago. I was reading about counselors and how they look at stress in people's lives. And many counselors, it's a theory they have, but I believe it's true. They believe that, and this is my way of picturing it, your body's like a battery and it stores up stuff. In this case, your body stores up stress. And the more stress you get, your body stores it up. And that's why we often have physical problems, right? Whether it's our muscles or headaches or our bowels or whatever you think. Your body manifests the stress that you have going on the inside of you. Because after a while, your body keeps storing up that stress. And one day you can break, right? You could fall apart, and it happens. And this is why it's important that when the Lord addresses us, he doesn't just look at the outward circumstances, but he looks at what's going on inside of us. That's why he told Samuel, the Lord doesn't look at the outside of a person, he looks on the heart. Because Samuel was looking on the strong and strapping young men, or surely that big guy can be a king. Look at him, he looks like a bruiser, man, he's awesome. And God says, no, I want the little one over there who's hiding while he's, dealing with the sheep. And so it's amazing how God sees things so differently. And even as we're praying for the war in Europe, or for Ukraine, it's just a horrendous thing. We keep needing to understand that we don't know exactly what's going on in a spiritual sense. I mean, we can make assumptions, but only God knows why he's permitting this to go on for so long. God has something he is doing. And so we have to look at what's behind the question, right? What's behind the problem? What's behind the struggle? and before we make judgments. Because, like the other day, I never do this because I'm very focused when I'm working. And if I start watching videos, like YouTube videos about prophetic words, I start watching them and I'm like, So I very rarely look at prophetic words online because there's so much weird stuff out there. And but I was talking to Hector Santos about this, and he said he'd been listening to a couple of them. And so I scrolled down a couple of them. I said to myself, some of these people are insane, some of the stuff they're saying prophetically. And there's no accountability. They could say whatever they want, and that's God, he spoke to me, and that's the way it is. And so we have to be careful what's going on the outside of us, that it doesn't cause turmoil on the inside of us. Because some of the things they were saying are like, we're going to be invaded and all these things, and just real hopeless kind of things. And we find that in the scriptures, even though God may prophesy something negative or difficult, there's always the hope of redemption in the end in the scriptures. Because his kingdom is here and his kingdom is coming, and all things are changing. So beware of what voices you hear on the outside of you, because they can really perpetuate the storm on the inside of you. So if you like this podcast, leave a like and recommend it to somebody. This little church podcast we do, Destiny Devos. And check out destinychristianniagara.com. And also check out our Facebook and YouTube, because all the videos are loaded up there, all the teachings. And soon we're going to have Lori on the church webpage, her podcast on It's Something with Lambs, I think, or My Sheep Know My Voice, I think it's called. But I'm excited about that, and we're trying to get that together for her. So till next time, God bless you and have a great day.